because the Germans knew that many Polish people were hiding under false names in order to avoid being arrested by them. You know, those people who they arrested, professors and clergy, and many of them also Polish army officers, they avoided to be taken to the prisoner of war camps. So in order to avoid that, they lived under false IDs. And the Germans knew that, or they imagined that. So they ordered that every Polish person has to get a new ID. What do I do? I had to get a birth certificate, but I didn't have a birth certificate. I only had a student ID. That doesn't mean anything. And I didn't know where was the birthplace of Andrzej Pradzyński. Where was it located? So that I could write and request a birth certificate. I went to the post office and I asked, where is Osiek? Now he told me that in the borders of Poland before World War II, there were 8 places named Osiek in different parts of Poland. So which Osiek I should write to for my birth certificate? So I said, okay, thank you. I went back. When I took off the photograph from that student ID, on the back there was a stamp of the photographer business that was in a town. Osiek was a very little town, and that was in a close town to Osiek. So I understood that I will find Osiek at the post office, telling them that it must be close to the other town. So I identified the birthplace of Andrzej Pradzyński. Now, here I have to make a little side digression. After I moved with my boss, his name was Kostek. After I moved with Kostek to Staszów, some of members of his family also got false Polish IDs, and they had to move somewhere, and my boss Kostek wanted to help them, so he told me, go outside our little town, Staszów, and rent a room from farmers, from a farmer. Now I found a widow of a Polish farmer who lived alone with her little boy, and in her house she had a room that she could rent. So I rented that room, and I told her that my cousins or friends, I don't remember, will want to move to Staszów. So one of Kostek, my boss's sisters, and another sisters of his came to Staszów and moved into that room with that Polish woman. I paid her well, so she didn't care who is moving, she didn't ask questions. Now, the sister of my boss, she had a boy who was, I don't remember how old she was, maybe 4 years or so. And so she came with the boy, and she didn't look like Jewish at all. She looked very, very Aryan. But the other sister, she didn't look that, she looked a little bit Jewish. Her nose was a little curved, but she could, okay, if nobody asked questions, she could go along. So they lived there. Okay. I didn't want to, when I decided that I have to write a letter to Osiek and ask for my birth certificate, I mean that means Andrzej Pradzyński, that student. I was not sure if that student was alive, or maybe he already requested his birth certificate. So if he did, that would disclose that something is suspicious. In order to avoid that risk, I rented a P.O. box at the post office. I wrote a letter, since I knew German well in writing. I wrote a letter in German language to the town Osiek, but that turned out that Osiek also was in the territory of, included into Germany, into the Third Reich. So I wrote in German that I kindly request to send me my birth certificate in 2 copies, because of the German authorities required me to get my birth certificate, to get a new ID. And I put the address of the P.O. box in Staszów. And I figured, if something went wrong, then I would be able to know that something is wrong and we could escape, you know.
Is this a good time to take a break?
Sorry?
Is this a good time to take a break? Or you want to finish the story?
Okay. Yeah, we can
They're
take
downstairs and ready.
They are already done?
Yeah,
Yeah?
but finish your thought. I don't.
All right, okay. Okay. So I'll make a break. So, well, okay, I'll go to a point where I can make a break.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay? It's very important. So I wrote a letter, and within 3 weeks or a month, I found in my P.O. box, I found a letter from Germany, from the place near Osijek, where my birth certificate was. I found 2 copies of my birth certificate and a little note from one of the worker there who knew my parents, Andrzej Pradzyński's parents. And there was a note to give greetings. Okay? So to make the story short, I took the birth certificate, I made 2 photographs, I registered at the town hall, I signed the forms, I put my fingerprints, and within 2 weeks I came and they gave me my Polish ID in the name of Andrzej Pradzyński, which was not a false ID. I mean,
It was a real ID.
it was a real ID of a real person. Now, until today, I don't know what happened for the real Andrzej Pradzyński. Later, I met a Polish engineer who knew my parents, but he didn't know anything. He thought that I was Andrzej Pradzyński. I met him in the concentration camp in Hamburg-Neuengamme. Now we can stop at this point.
Interesting.
All right.